Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Metropolis Radio. Today we are looking at the Netflix movie The Outsider with Jared Leto. Now, this was a movie that I happened to stumble upon just a couple of weeks before recording this, and personally, I don't remember a lot of marketing for this movie back when it originally released in 2018. Now, with Netflix's track record for quality, and let's be honest, it's laughable. Watch that South Park episode. Thank you for calling Netflix, you're greenlit. Anyway, getting back to it, is this movie any good, or is it like the other crap that they produce on a regular basis? Now, I know what I titled this video, but I think everyone knows Netflix's track record by this point. Like I said, it's fucking laughable. Even South Park made fun of it. When something on Netflix is labeled, quote-unquote, better than expected, that doesn't exactly mean a whole hell of a lot. Now, before we get started, if you like the content that I produce, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the BitChute channel. It's a small click for you, but for a small channel like mine, it helps out a lot. Like, comment, and share the video around if you want to. Follow me on the blog and social medias. Links to those are below in the descriptions. So with all that out of the way, let's just tear right into The Outsider. Now, as always, we start off by looking at the creative team, and this movie was directed by Martin Zandvliet. Now, he's a Danish filmmaker, and in 2017, he was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film. The nomination went to the movie Land of Mine. That was a World War II Danish film. Now, I could list off all the movies that he's directed, but the vast majority of you may have never heard of them. Sorry to all the Danish that are listening to this. This movie is his first English movie, even though it also has Japanese in it, but we'll get to that. And this movie was written by Andrew Baldwin, and no, there's no relation to the Baldwin brothers here. Looks like there's no relation to the Baldwin brothers by any stretch. Now, he's only written two movies. This movie and a movie called The Take with Idris Elba. Now let's move on to our character analysis, and we're going to start off with the lead himself, Jared Leto as Nick Lowell. And he's the main character for this movie. He starts off as a POW in a Japanese prison filled with Yakuza members. And after he saves one from being hung to death, he gets in with the Shidomatsu clan and becomes a member later on in the movie. Then we have Tadanobu Asano as Kiyoshi, the guy who gets saved by Nick in the beginning of the movie, and he's the guy who brings him into the clan. You have Kipposhina as Orochi. And he turns out to be the traitor later in the movie. Oh, by the way, there's going to be spoilers for this, but this movie is like a couple years old, so fuck it, I don't care. He's the son of the head of the Shidomatsu family, but turns on his own father and kills him. Then you have Shiori Kutsuna as Miyu. She is the sister of Kiyoshi. And this character is primarily used as the love interest for Nick during the movie. And finally, a non-Japanese actor, Emil Hirsch as Polly. Oh, how far has he come from portraying Speed in the Speed Racer movie about 10 years ago? In this movie, he's Nick's old army buddy, and he threatens to sell him out to the U.S. court-martial, so Nick ends up killing him in his own apartment. It's actually pretty funny. Now let's move on and actually talk about the narrative for the movie. Now, the movie opens up with Nick in the prison, like I said, and this is where we're shown how he got in with the Yakuza despite the fact that he is an outsider. He's clearly an American. It's discovered that if you try to commit suicide in the prison, the guards just take you immediately to the hospital. Kiyoshi attempts it and gets Nick freed once he's out as basically a thank you for saving me. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Now that's when we find out that this movie takes place in Osaka in 1954, a post-World War II Japan. Now the rest of the movie shows Nick's rise through the ranks from just carrying out an errand to get a metal recycler to negotiate a deal with the Shidomatsu clan to becoming a full member of the Shidomatsu clan. And he falls in love with the mobster's sister. We've seen this all before. And gets her pregnant, all while the Shidomatsu family is dealing with the rat. Now, as Nick is rising in the Yakuza, the Shidomatsu clan and the Seizu clan are basically on the brink of war. Now, war does eventually break out when the patriarch of the Shidomatsu clan is almost strangled and Kiyoshi is shot and killed. Now, this war leads to both clans meeting at the docks, with the patriarch of the Shidomatsu clan getting killed by Orochi, his own son, and the Shidomatsu clan is no more. Nick is basically told to leave Osaka and Miyu behind, otherwise the Seizu clan would not guarantee her safety, Nick goes to the Seizu dojo and kills Orochi, and that's the end of the movie. A shattered Yakuza clan with just a few members, standing guard. Now let's take a look at how this movie was received, and this was a Netflix movie, therefore there are no reported budgets for this, and there is no box office gross. Now on Rotten Tomatoes, this movie has a tomato meter score of only 17%, based on 23 critic reviews, with the critics' consensus being, quote, starring a disengaged Jared Leto and stuffed with gangster cliches, The Outsider never distinguishes itself enough to gain admittance into the inner circle of good Yakuza pictures. And this movie has an audience score of 68% based on 782 audience reviews. This movie has a Metacritic score of 30 based on 12 critic reviews and a user score of 6.7 out of 10 based on 66 ratings. And this movie sits on IMDb at 6.3 out of 10 based on 19,849 reviews. Now, as of the recording of this, Netflix has not released the numbers for how many users have watched this movie, which leads me to believe that not a lot of people really have seen this. Basically, this is basically a gangster movie, and it has all of the hallmarks. Guy finds a way in. He starts from the bottom and eventually becomes a made man, all while a war between two opposing clans, otherwise known as families, is on the brink of breaking out. Now, some reviewers slammed this movie for being, quote-unquote, too cliche. My response is, don't watch a fucking gangster movie and then complain it's a fucking gangster movie. What do you expect? This is what leads to the conversation of should the critics even be trusted. Oh my god, I'm going to watch this Yakuza movie, but oh my god, this is just filled with cliches of gangster movies. And personally, I personally would not mind a follow-up to this movie. The ending was set up perfectly for a sequel where Nick and the other disenfranchised members of the Shidomatsu clan are just basically waiting out the storm. Have the sequel be like The Godfather Part 2, in the sense that you see Nick build his own Yakuza clan and become the Don / the Patriarch. And I would go as far as to say this. If you're looking for a good gangster movie that ticks all of the boxes for what a good gangster movie should be, then this is the movie for you. If you're expecting a movie like Casino, I wouldn't bother with this movie if I were you. Go into this movie expecting to see Goodfellas in the sense of it's about a guy who rose through the ranks of the mafia. The big difference being is Nick doesn't turn to a rat like Henry Hill did by the end of the movie. But still, it was rather enjoyable and rather well made. For all the crappy gangster movies that are being made nowadays, I would rather take one filled to the brim with fucking cliches rather than a gangster movie that is just avant-garde for the sake of being avant-garde.